Hey
All right.
guys, welcome to the Monday morning meetups. I have a couple of special guests. We have George here and Amy, and then we also have some guests that should be joining later on. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you how I know these people. Dr. Kiltz is very generous and created a Kiltz coaching certification class where we become carnivore coaches. And Stephanie made a WhatsApp group, and this is how we know each other. So thank you guys for coming on the channel. I'm just going to start by adding some comments on the screen. If you guys have any questions while you're watching it, you can type them and I'll try and get them up here. So Terry said, thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope you found in the new way of eating. Thank you, Miss Terry. Okay, so George, what is your carnivore story? I don't think I've heard it all the way through yet.
Okay. So yeah, I do have a carnivore story. Basically, in my 50s, I started to become very ill. I got very, very fat. I ended up weighing 293 pounds. I didn't really understand what was happening to me because I was eating perfectly normally. I was eating, the usual stuff: the pizza, the pasta, the rice, the vegetables, the potatoes. I wasn't really big on sweets and chocolate and that sort of thing, so I didn't understand what was happening to me. And then on March the 1st, 2022, I went to the doctors. I had a blood test, and a few days later, the blood test came back, and I was told that I was a type 2 diabetic and that I was morbidly obese and I had very high triglycerides. Now, my good friend Tommy had dropped dead in the January of 2022 because he was in a very similar condition to me. He had been drinking an awful lot of those energy drinks, the very high glucose ones. He was with high caffeine and he was addicted to those. And he got up for work one day and got to the bottom of his stairs and he simply dropped dead. He never made it to work. So when I was diagnosed, I realized that I was in a very similar condition to him and that I was really just a heart attack waiting to happen. Now, the doctor wasn't really very helpful. She prescribed me with metformin and statins, gave me the prescription, and she sent me out of her office. And that was it as far as she was concerned. Type 2 diabetes is considered to be chronic and progressive. It can only be managed with drugs. It cannot be reversed. However, I was lucky. Somebody somewhere sent an angel without wings, a young lady called Nurse Kathy Moran. And she said, come into my office. So I went into her office. I didn't have an appointment. It was her being kind. She sat me down and she sat very close to me and looked into my eyes and said, George, what do you eat? So I told her what I just told you. And then she just looked into my eyes again and said, George, all carbs are sugar. And I said, what? Even the ones that don't taste of sugar? They're not sweet. I said, I don't eat sugar. She said, yes, because they're all starches are also sugars. They will turn to glucose in your bloodstream. So that was the clue that I needed. So I went away and I put the prescriptions on the table and I did some research into reversing type 2 diabetes. I knew that there was a guy in Newcastle University in England called Professor Roy Taylor who believed it could be. I discovered that he had a very low calorie approach. That if you actually just ate 800 calories per day for 8 weeks, then type 2 diabetes would go away. But as I studied, so I discovered the low carb approach. I think probably Atkins was the first thing that came to attention. And then I decided that I would start counting my carbs and I would go low carb. Fortunately, at work, there was a guy called Max Brownfit, who was a bulldozer driver. He understood the ketogenic diet. And so he explained to me the ketogenic diet. So I went away and started cutting my carbs, counting my carbs and lowering to less than 50 grams a day. And this was in March 2022. The results were immediate and spectacular. I started to deflate like a balloon, like a slowly deflating balloon. By the time late July came around, I'd already lost maybe up to 30 pounds. And I felt confident enough to ask for a second blood test in August. So on August the 4th, I had my second blood test. And I had a routine telephone appointment booked for August the 22nd. On August the 9th, I got an urgent phone call from Sandra, the head diabetes nurse at my primary care clinic. And she said, George, I have to talk to you very urgently. I said, oh, no, Sandra, what have I done wrong? I thought I must have done something really wrong. She said, no. She said, don't worry. She said, I just need to know what you've done. She said, you've reversed type 2 diabetes in 4 months and you've lost 30 pounds. Tell me, how have you done it? So I said, I've gone low carb, and I threw away the prescriptions. I never cashed them in. So no drugs had passed my lips. So she just couldn't believe it, really. It was just an absolute shock to her. She said she'd never seen it before. So that was good. And I was on the keto diet. And that very same month, in August 23, I discovered YouTube as a university, as a studying device. And the first carnivore video that came on my way was Dr. Ken Berry and Kelly Hogan. Woman Eats Only Meat for 13 years. I don't know if you've seen it, but the actual transformation of Kelly is literally shocking. And it made me realize that carnivore was a thing that existed and that could be done. Shortly afterwards, I discovered Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Plants Are Trying to Kill You, and all of the usual primary ones. However, at the time, I didn't feel the need to go carnivore because I was doing so well on keto, and I like my veg and my salad and that sort of thing. So that was August 2022. However, in August 2023, I made friends with a guy in Texas, Jarrell, Texas. He was a chief warrant officer in the Texas National Guard, and he was called Larry Allhands, the Carnivore Soldier. He did an interview with me on September the 10th, 2023, and I told him that I was still eating salad with my burgers, such as tomatoes, cucumber, onions, all the low-carb veg, olives as well. And he didn't really say much at the time, but the following morning, he did a feedback video to the world at about 5 a.m. his time. And he said, I had a good talk with my friend George Goodenough yesterday. He said, how can I tell a man he was wrong when he did so well? He's doing so well. So I thought, Larry, you are telling me that I'm wrong. So I thought about it and I thought, yeah, he's right. If I want to go carnivore, get rid of all the salad veg. So that was really the day which I can probably say 11th of September 2023 when I went carnivore. I did when I went to a Turkish restaurant about 4 weeks later, having eaten no plant food for 4 weeks. I had some olives because olives are low carb. They're no problem, are they? Oh, but boy, did that have an effect on the guys downstairs, the microbiome, because my microbiome had already changed. So I can safely say that was the last time I ever let any fiber or any plant cross my lips. So that was September or October 2023. Shortly after that, I started building my community. My first contact in the UK was a young lady called Lauren Tucker, who is going to be on the documentary with Kerry, the Healing Humanity documentary. She already had one or two friends in the carnivore world, so we joined together in WhatsApp. We then merged two small WhatsApp groups to become a bigger WhatsApp group. And since then, the community for me has just absolutely snowballed. It really has, to the point now, as you just explained earlier, I now have very many friends in the United States. I have friends in South Africa. I have friends in New Zealand and Australia and all around the world, in fact. So here I am. And my progress continued way beyond 2023 into 2024 when I discovered eating raw, which Dr. Kiltz recommends. I didn't discover it through Dr. Kiltz. I discovered it through the channel called The Primal Lifestyle and my friend Carl Day, who interviewed a guy called Jacob McAteer, the raw carnivore. If you go on to Carl's The Primal Lifestyle channel and scroll back, you will find that video. It encouraged me to start going raw, and I just tried a couple of steaks in the first week, found I got on really well, and then started to increase the amount to the point now where my average daily meal is a raw lamb steak of 10 ounces, maybe 3 a day, to which I add salt and mustard. And I believe it has really transformed my health, because I have now, in the space of the last year, lost a further shed load of weight, and I'm back to my 17-year-old weight. And I'm going to be 60 2 weeks tomorrow. So I'm 59 now, but I weigh the same as I did when I was 17. So that is my carnivore story. I had a very strong why because my friend had died, and another friend had died as well on Christmas Day of 2021. So my why that makes me cry was there. Thank you, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. I did the research, thousands of hours of research, starting with Professor Roy Taylor of Newcastle University, and then I got the community, and the community has actually led me here today with you, Elia, and it's just been an amazing journey. So there we go. I think that's there's so much more I could tell you about this journey, but I think I've taken up enough of your time for the moment, Alia. So I'm going to hand it back to you, the hostess.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and she was like, if you cut out plants for, I don't know, a certain amount of time, the microbiome that learns how to digest the plants die. So definitely, if you have not eaten plants for a very, very long time, it is not a good idea to reintroduce them when you're out, when you're not at home. Yeah. So, Amy, I know a decent bit of your story, but I would like to know more. Well, do you want to go into it with in a second? Just a second. Nancy said that she loves your story, George.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, but Amy, it's your turn. I want to know more of your story.
Okay, well, this is really interesting because it seems like you're having a diabetes show. So
Mm-hmm.
I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 16 years old. So that's how old you are now, right, Alia?
Yes.
So yeah, I was 16. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and um, put on one shot a day. And so then I went to college. And when I got out of college, I got out of college in 1976. And being vegetarian was very popular back then in the 70s. We were all hippies. And the study of health was very popular. It was like the end thing to do. So I started studying health and I started reading books on nutrition and health. And I got convinced that anything could be healed. And so I became convinced that I could heal the type 1 diabetes, even though the beta cells in your pancreas that produce insulin are supposedly dead. That's why you get type 1. Something has killed them, either toxins or your immune system. And sometimes it's different. But anyway, I started studying nutrition and health. So my carnivore story is different than most because I've been on a health journey for that long. I'm now 71 and I've been through a lot of different diets and supplements trying to heal the type 1 diabetes while accepting it at the same time. I've been through, I found very low carb in 1996. So after um, 25 years of type 1 diabetes, I went very low carb because I had been getting really sick. I had frozen shoulders, I had frozen hips, I could barely move, I couldn't play with my kids. My body was extremely stiff. And at the time, I didn't know, but those are complications from high blood sugars from type 1 diabetes. So I found Dr. Bernstein. I went on 5 shots a day and very low carb, which is under 30 grams of carbs per day. And I got better, but I still had to take insulin all the time. And so I was still trying to heal, but I was doing this low carb thing. And so my health improved and I never gained weight or anything like that. So, but I'm still trying to heal. So then I find the raw vegan diet because there was a raw vegan family and the son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and the mother put him on raw vegan and he never had to go on insulin. So I'm like, okay, I jumped onto raw vegan and I did that for 7 years. And instead of making my diabetes go away, it made my health go away. And well, I hadn't actually at the time, I hadn't eaten red meat in 35 years at the time. So I did raw vegan for 7 years, and then I decided to go keto. So I went on less than 20 grams of carbs a day, and that was in 2010. So I was only eating basically a few vegetables and lots of fermented vegetables. And my diabetes, I did pretty good. My health improved somewhat. I stopped having headaches. I stopped having joint pain. It was good, but it wasn't healing. So, I'm always the researcher. I discovered the carnivore diet when my husband and I were on a trip. He was an artist, and we used to travel the country. And actually, we did workshops with him teaching painting. We actually got to go to Italy and to Moscow, and he taught workshops over there. It was a lot of fun. But I actually went to Italy and Russia as a carnivore, and was very successful staying on the carnivore diet. But anyway, the way I learned about it was we were in our car, couldn't do anything else but listen to YouTube. And at the time, there was only a little bit of keto on YouTube, and that's what we were listening to. And at the time, there were 3 carnivore videos, and we ended up listening to them. It was Joe Rogan with Michaela Peterson, and Jordan Peterson and Sean Baker. We listened to those, and my husband goes carnivore the very next day. He was all excited. And I decided to wait until the end of our trip because we still had 5 weeks to go on our trip. And we get back. I went carnivore the day we got back. It was November 12th, 2018. So I've been carnivore almost 7 years. It has not healed my type 1 diabetes, but I am able to take a lot less insulin, and I've had other health improvements. Like, it used to be when I flew on airplanes, my ears would hurt really, really, really bad. And so then when we flew to, the first flight out of the country was to Moscow, and I had no ear pain because I had been a carnivore for a whole year. In the first 6 months, I spit up mucus. I've never heard this from anybody else, but I spit up mucus for the first 6 months. And obviously, it must have cleaned out my ears because I can fly now and I have no pain. The other thing that happened was that the floaters in my eyes, when you get older, you get floaters in your eyes, and mine were getting so bad that I could barely see. They were just floating around all the time. It was awful. In about 6 months, my floaters went away. Then I got my cataracts removed while being a carnivore. And after that surgery, I got new floaters, and I was really upset. But they also went away. So I can see great now. But I'm trying to think, is there's anything else? I just think that my husband died almost 4 years ago, and I have remained carnivore through the whole thing. I love the carnivore diet. It's really easy to be on. And, you know, I do drink decaf coffee when I'm out, and I do drink yerba mate, but that's the only plant things I consume.
And okay, wait. I have a really good thing to say, but I'm gonna add this comment really quick. Bill is about to go walk 2 miles with a 52-pound backpack, and I'm gonna say that's amazing. But Amy here walks so much every day, and I don't even know a 50-year-old that could walk as much as she does. let alone kids my age barely walk as much as she does. So, how many steps a day do you average now?
Well, I don't know my average, but my phone counts my steps. So they estimate that as 10 miles. You know, there's no way to know whether it's really 10 miles or not, but some days I get a little bit more, some days I get a little bit less. Yesterday I only got 8.9 miles, but my goal is 10 miles every day, and most days I get that. But it's not one long walk, it's many walks during the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. I am striving to get 10,000 steps a day, which is like 4 or 5 miles, and that's even hard for me. You go, girl. Miss
Thanks.
Laugh a Lot, you're on your walk, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Good morning,
Uh,
everyone.
Good morning. Do you want to tell your carnivore story?
Sure. Thanks for inviting me or having me here. It's nice to see you all. And I was diagnosed 2 years ago. I just celebrated my second anniversary of diabetes. So I was diagnosed just after my birthday, my 48th birthday. And I just turned 50. And I guess it started off two of my first memories of the symptoms were extremely vivid dreams. And that's all I did was dream all night. That's all I did, and they seemed like lucid, very, very colorful dreams all night. It was really cool. And the other memory was, and now I know why, I was severely deficient in magnesium. I jumped out of bed. I had a major cramp in my leg and I had no idea. I'm half asleep. I jump out of bed and something just said, squat. So I started squatting just uncontrollably because I'm like, I had no idea. I was half asleep. I thought I was going to die. Things were already happening. It was weird. I was peeing all night, right? And it was just like a huge, just a lot of pee, right? And it was so I never went to the doctor. It was something I never got sick. So I refused to go to the doctor. And unfortunately, because I did that, I think I probably caused a bit more a discomfort because I didn't, right? Um, I think it was maybe a couple months by the time I actually went to the doctor and thought, okay, I better see what's going on. So I went to the doctor, and when I got my results back, it was about July 24th, 2 years ago. They said you have type 2 diabetes, and you need to take some insulin. And I said, I don't, yeah, I don't want to take insulin. And they ended up putting me on metformin, but I was soon after that I started wasting away. If you see my YouTube videos, it's really quite visible how small I got, and so I was in denial. I thought I kept hearing about Ken Berry and Terry Mann and talking about this carnivore diet, and eventually Robert Kiltz. And I thought, well, they say type 2 diabetes is reversible, so I'm not taking insulin. Why should I take this insulin when I'm type 2 and I'm creating insulin, right? So I was very unaware. I still profess to know nothing about diabetes, so welcome to learn as much as I can. So a few months after that, so it was October, a few months later, they wanted me to come back. And that's when they told me I was type 1. By that time, I'd wasted away to about 100 pounds. So maybe I'd lost 20 pounds in a few months. And so no, I'm sorry. It was December. I'm sorry. December is when I got diagnosed as type 1. So that was like close to 6 months. And that's when I started to take the insulin. So for all that time, I was not taking insulin. So that's why my body was wasting away. And I was in denial. right? And grieving the loss, the changing of my body, and determined to change my to cure type 2, right? But I was very sick. And yeah, so then I was hospitalized. I had gone up to, I'm in Canada, so my A1C, my blood sugars, my friends ended up taking me in because I was acting all weird. And my friends just took me, one of the friends, her mother had been diabetes. So she took my blood sugar and she said, holy shit, like get her to the doctor right now. And I had just eaten an orange. I wanted to see if I could eat an orange, and that put me over the edge. And I had already been carnivore, like immediately, like once upon diagnosis of type 2, I immediately started the carnivore diet. But on that day that I was hospitalized for the first time, I had had an orange. So anyway, that day I was, I think I might have been about a level 40 of a blood sugar, which is near death. So then that's when I was started taking insulin, and then I started to get better. And so lately, so I've been pretty much carnivore the whole thing. Sometimes I'll have something different. Like at Christmas, I remember I had some treats, and it was just not a good scene. Right? I'm like, well, maybe I wonder what'll happen, right? Because for me, I always wonder, well, I wonder what'll happen if I eat this. And so it's never a good scene. It's not even just a little bit. It's just not fun, right? Do you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, you have to make a decision. Like if I eat this, even if on the carnivore diet, right? If I eat another bite, even though it's just meat, how am I going to feel, right? Yeah, so it's been a learning process, and how do I balance? Do I exercise before I eat? Do I exercise after I eat? Do I do both? So this, it's been quite exhausting. I don't believe in being a victim, but I do feel it's necessary to tell it like it is. Yeah, exhausting, because I was exercising and walking and walking and walking, and then testing and testing. Right? When do I take my insulin? Do I take it at this time, and how much? And yeah, so yeah, it's been quite a journey, and now I feel very confident. You know, I don't feel so vulnerable. I feel comfortable to go out for a walk. And whereas before I was quite homebound because I was afraid to go out. I didn't know how to manage myself, right? But yeah, it's been quite a journey. Yeah. And then here we are.
So I had a question for both you and Amy, since y'all are both type 1 diabetics, which is, I didn't even know, I knew about Amy, I didn't know about you, but today seems to be a diabetes talk session. So my question is, I've heard a lot about walking after eating helps with insulin, and I see y'all both walk a good bit. Um, does that actually help for y'all at least?
Oh, yes. 100%. Yeah.
Definitely. That's why I ended up trying to do 10 miles a day. I started with, I've walked for years, but I started at 5 miles and that was okay. And then I'm like, maybe if I walk a little bit more, it'll be better. So then I did 7 miles for a really long time. And then I upped it to 10 because on 10 miles a day, I can take much less insulin and my blood sugars are more even throughout the day and my body just really loves it. And it's really, like we're not any different than anybody else. It's
No,
just that we don't have, our beta cells are dead and we're not producing our own insulin, but we're taking insulin. So anybody wants a very low level of insulin. That's what they say, that's what Ken Berry says. It doesn't matter if it's insulin that you take or insulin that you produce. Your goal is for your insulin to be low because that's how you can be the healthiest. So it's the same way for us. We make it externally. And walking helps us to be able to not have to use as much insulin. So or for you to not have to produce as much, which is a good thing.
Can I just jump in here a second and talk about type 1 diabetes? I'm type 2, obviously, but I had a friend who was 6 months older than me, and he was a type 1 diabetic. His mother was an allopathic doctor, so he believed firmly in the pharmaceutical-only solution of the management for type 2 diabetes. We used to see him inject himself with insulin when we were out quite often, but he was lazy. He didn't really take any interest in any form of exercise. He was a very wealthy man. He was a millionaire probably, but he didn't look after himself. He trusted the system. He trusted the drugs and his mum, who's now passed on herself, so I can say that. And he ended up having some toes amputated because obviously this is what any diabetes does to you. And then in August of 2022, shortly after I had started my own journey, he died in his sleep. He simply never woke up. So that was another friend of mine who I lost, who was 6 months older than me. So he was the third friend who I lost in the space of 9 months. The first one being a chap who died on Christmas Day at the age of 69, very fit ex-Royal Marine, and dropped dead on his kitchen floor before his 70th birthday. Then Tommy at the age of 59, and then my friend Dave at the age of 57, all of whom simply hadn't really understood what was going wrong with their nutrition. So I'm lucky to be here. I don't think I would be here if it weren't for that nurse, Kath Moran. I honestly believe that she saved my life with her kind words. Of course, I had to go away and act on it, which I did. But yeah, this has been a journey of faith and of spiritualism for me as well. So, because I used to study theology without ever having faith, but I just believe now that there are angels out there, and that I happen to meet one in Kath Moran. So yeah, it's I just mentioned that I have lost a friend to type 1 diabetes because he didn't do what our friends here are doing, and that is add in the exercise and the sensible eating. So that's my take on type 1.
So Bill is 64 years old, and he's walking with a weighted vest. What was his mile per minute? That was crazy. I can't find the comment now, but he's walking a lot. So he had a question. So type 2, does your body still make insulin? I'm thinking that your pancreas would make insulin without shots because you're insulin resistant. So I was kind of diagnosed with insulin resistance pre-diabetes thing. Again, I was pretty young, like 10 or 12 or something like that. I don't remember. Anyways, I think my doctors just told me to eat less red meat. That's really all they said. They said, oh, your cholesterol is high and your fasting insulin / blood sugars are very high. Eat less red meat. That's all that they told me. Eat less red meat, eat more vegetables. Obviously, that doesn't work. We all know this. But, yeah, I don't know that much about insulin resistance. I kind of know how to, make it better. But for the mechanics of it, I'm going to let George say more about it because I feel like he probably knows.
Yeah, when I was studying type 2 diabetes, Jason Fung is a very, very good source of it. So basically what happens is your fat cells fill up to the point where the body doesn't want to actually get any more into those cells. Those cells are kind of like a balloon that is so blown up it's ready to burst. So when insulin comes along and unlocks that, or tries to unlock that fat cell, the fat cell will not unlock because it does not want any more. It's a bit like I think Jason Fung used the example of a subway train, that when basically you've got so many people on that subway train, you open the doors and try to put more people in there, you can't. It's as simple as that because it's filled up. And this is effectively the same as insulin. So yes, your beta cells are still creating insulin because their response to not being able to store the fat in the fat cells is to get more guards, more soldiers out on the ground there to try and push the triglycerides in as fat into the cells. But of course it doesn't work because there's no room in them. So you do have, is it hyperinsulinemia? you've got too much insulin running around your body, but it can't do anything. But of course, the minute you take away the carbohydrates and you have only the fat and protein, then the body thinks, oh, I don't need insulin because I've got nothing to store in the fat cells. So the insulin goes to sleep. The beta cells of the pancreas go to sleep. Your body starts thinking, okay, we're going to go into ketosis now. We're going to use convert fatty acids into acetoacetate, I think it is, and then onto beta hydroxybutyrate, just to show I've been paying attention in class. And of course, that is how then the body runs itself. So it thinks, oh, crikey, this is going really well. I'll tell you what, we need some more fat. We need some more short-chain fatty acids to turn into ketones. So what does it do? It unlocks the cells that are already full, and the cells then empty, and the fat that was stored in there gets turned into into ketones, and that is the reason why we lose fat so rapidly and lose water so rapidly on the ketogenic diet, because basically you're using all your stores instead of trying to store more fat. I was dramatic. I was 293 pounds when I started, and at the moment I weigh 170. So that is a loss of 123 pounds in the space of 3.5 years. And that is because I've been in ketosis on a regular basis, probably not all the time, but yeah, my insulin is now probably pretty much asleep, and my body has gone round and it has emptied all those cells, all the fat cells of the fat, turned it on the ketones, and now I can get away eating pretty much what I want, quite a lot. I can eat a lot of mass. I hate the word calories because they don't exist apart from as a measurement of heat, but I can eat an awful lot of fat and protein, and I don't put an ounce on. It's only really if I sort of drink, because I gave up alcohol, I sometimes drink non-alcoholic beer, and that does have carbohydrates in it. And I do notice I will put on a couple of pounds after a weekend if I've had a few non-alcoholic beers. So again, it's the carbs. It's not the fat and the protein which affects weight. But most of the time, I'm a rock steady 170 pounds nowadays. The same weight as I was when I was 17. I'm a very happy, very smug, very healthy carnivore. So there you go, Eddie.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I had a question for Amy. I don't know that much about yerba mate. I heard Anita, ketogenic woman, talking about it because I just quit coffee like a week ago. That's why I have my bone broth here, because I'm like, need something to drink other than water. But yeah, what is yerba mate? Is it caffeinated? What does it taste like? Can you answer that for me?
Sure. So I used to drink it the whole time I was a raw vegan. So I drank it for a really long time. I would buy it by the 5 pounds. It's a tea that's very popular in South America. Like in Argentina, it's their national drink, and they drink it all day long. And they drink it in a little gourd that has a wooden straw with holes in the bottom of the straw, and it's a tradition back. So, but we can buy it here, and it has a small amount of caffeine. It's a little bit less. So I used to be really into tea, and I loved green tea, and then I morphed into white tea because it's a little bit less caffeine. Well, yerba mate is a little bit less than that. But it gives you a really nice energy. And supposedly the new thing is that it's supposed to help your body produce its natural GLP-1, which basically means that your body is going to gain less weight and will balance the blood sugar better. I haven't found that it does anything to my blood sugar. I'm just like happy to be enjoying it again. And it will steal your sleep if you drink too much of it, definitely. But it gives you a fun kind of energy. Not so I find that coffee, if I haven't drank coffee with caffeine in years, but when I used to, I found that the energy you get from coffee is kind of base level. It's it's kind of an irritable energy. That's what I'll say. So yerba mate, the energy you get from the caffeine that's in yerba mate is a little bit different, and it's a happier or a higher high. And I think it's worth a try, but if you're sensitive to caffeine, it might be too much for you. And it's probably, and I don't know if it really does that GLP-1 thing. That's, there's a new product. And I think that's why some of these people are getting into this product. It's a yerba mate product, but they've concentrated whatever is in yerba mate, they've concentrated it and they've put it in a powder, but they also added stevia and natural flavors. And somebody wanted me to buy into this product, and so I was going to try it. And first off, it made me feel bad because of the natural flavors, because I can't really do natural flavors. They give me a really bad stomach ache. And then two, part of the benefit of yerba mate is that it's a bitter. And bitter is supposed to be really good for your insulin levels. So any kind of bitter herb is supposed to be healthy. Um, and you've heard of maybe Swedish bitters; they're kind of popular. But one of the benefits of yerba mate is that it's bitter. So if you put stevia in it and make it sweet, well, that like does away with half of the benefits of it. So anyway, I did not buy into the product. I'm just drinking yerba mate. But that's why people are talking about it, because it's a multi-level marketing product that people are kind of, well, they want to get it out there because they can make money on it. So, that's okay. That's their business. But I found flaws with the product. So
Is that how it is spelled, Amy?
are you typing something in the chat? Because I can't get the chat.
Do you
It's
see it? It should be on the screen.
No, well,
okay.
I don't know. I'm on my phone and let me see if I can see anything. I cannot see anything. No.
Okay, it's okay.
It's YERBA, and then the next word is MATE, and there's an accent over the E.
Okay. 20 months no beer, Bill. That is awesome. I'm gonna ask if any of y'all have any questions, please put them in the chat because I'm running out of things to ask. So my next thing is like for everybody in here. How do you guys feel about coffee and caffeine in general? Because I've heard two completely different sides of it. I've heard it's a superfood, it gives you energy, and then I've heard it's awful for your hormones and it messes with all this kind of stuff in your body. So I want to hear what you guys think. Whoever speaks first goes first.
Okay, okay. So caffeine in coffee is a neurotoxin. It's a question of risk versus reward, isn't it? Now we know that it's not perfect. We know that it does affect your nervous system. However, how dangerous is it really? Now, I am a coffee addict, not a caffeine addict, because I wouldn't consider taking caffeine in any other way other than good coffee. We have an espresso machine in this household, and it's quite expensive, and we have it quite a lot. I told Alia, our friend, about it, and she said, "Right, I'm coming to visit you, George, because I love Nespresso myself." I also drink the instant coffee, which comes from the Colombian instant coffee, the more expensive powdered coffee. Sometimes, I absolutely fully accept that certain members of the carnivore police will want to take away my carnivore card because of it. However, I like coffee. I've achieved some massively good results. I'm where I want to be. So, okay, take away my carnivore police card by all means, but I'm carrying on my coffee. And it's as simple as that. Okay, so that's my views.
I'm also a caffeine coffee addict as well. But recently, yesterday I only had 2 cups. Normally it's about 4. But I know that it's something that I need to address because it affects my sleep and it makes me pee, right? So a lot, and so it's an addiction for me. and I know it's affecting my sleep and my nutrition levels, right? The way that I'm, because if you're peeing all the time, then I'm peeing out all my magnesium, right? It's robbing. I just wonder what other nutrients it's robbing from me. But I love my coffee. So this weekend, yesterday or Saturday, I bought some tea, some peppermint tea, and some chai, even though they're plants. But I just
Sorry.
think switching to, I have a whole bunch of elk bones, which I'm going to start making, and chicken bones and stuff. I'm going to start to the broth too, because I know by experience, I have quit coffee before and I've seen the benefits. Whereas, yeah, I don't pee as much and I sleep during the night. So, yeah, but I'm still addicted. Yeah, I allow myself to be addicted. That's it.
On top of coffee being a neurotoxin, a lot of coffees actually generate mold very easily, and this mold attacks your kidneys or your colon, depending on what you are, which is why it makes people have to use the bathroom. That's why, I don't know, coffee doesn't make me pee because my coffee, I make sure to get like mold-free coffee, but maybe try getting mold-free coffee if you want to keep doing coffee. It's kind of expensive and very hard to find, but it's worth a try.
Thank you, because I had no idea that existed. Like, I would have to Google that then. Thank you. But I love my coffee. I have an espresso machine too. I love grinding the beans and I just love the whole process. So, after going carnivore, which I love, you remove everything. By the way, I'd been carb free, bread, rice, and pasta for, free for 16 years, right? So all I had to do was cut out the vegetables, right, and the fruit, because I was a vegetarian for that many years. Yeah, that's it. So I was severely deficient in fat. I was very thin, and no fat in my brain. So I had depression for years. And now I know why, because once I started to have the fat and the meat, I started to calm down. And my friend, I haven't seen him in years, maybe about 5 years. He came over on Saturday and he said, "You seem more calm." I said, "Yeah, that's the meat." He said, "Yeah, because you were so skinny before." Yeah. But yeah, so that's a testament for how it affects the psychology of my brain. And yeah, that's that.
Nancy was asking what brand of yerba mate you use, Amy.
I use Eco Teas. It Here, I'll get mine. This one. So I used to that one. I used to drink Gayaki because it was a smoked brand, but then I heard that it was better for your health if you drink the raw brand. So that's why I switched to Eco Teas. I
Yep.
prefer the taste of Gayaki because it's been smoked. It's more delicious, but I gave that up for the raw. I figured that's better. So that's what I drink now. It's just
Nan.
organic.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, Nancy said that coffee gave her phlegm. She blamed it on the cream and then gave up cream and still have a problem. I read The Caffeine Blues. I'm assuming that's a book, and that got her off coffee. So I quit coffee too, and I noticed that the day I quit coffee, I probably ate 4,000 calories, which, calories is just a form of heat, but that's what we all know is like measurements. So that's a lot of food, and I've still been on that I'm hungry all the time kick. So I guess when I was drinking coffee, it was suppressing my appetite like so much. Um, but Nancy, will you like to tell us more about the caffeine blues in the chat, because I've never heard of that before?
Yeah, I haven't read that book, but I have heard of it for sure. It's been out for, I don't know, maybe since the 80s or 90s. It's been around for a while.
Hmm. Yeah, I've kind of been in a fight with coffee. Like I've always been the kind of person to be like, I know I shouldn't drink coffee, but I did. And then I quit it when I did Lion Diet for so long, and it took me a while to add it back in. And then once I did, because I have an espresso machine too, but mine is broken now, so my mom threw it in the trash. Because
Oh
at
no.
first I didn't even want it. I was like, these pods are so expensive. Like, I'm not spending that much money on coffee. It's the same as going to Starbucks every day. And so I told my mom that I wanted to resell it, and she was like, "No, that's so rude. I got it for you." And I'm like, and then she's the one who ended up throwing it out. So I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah, that was one of the big motivators for me to quit drinking coffee, because my French press, if I drink that coffee, it like messes up my gut because it's so strong. So I'm like, okay, I just can't win with coffee now.
Well, George has me very inspired about this raw diet. I'm actually considering it. I was thinking about going back to the lion diet, because when I go on the lion diet, which I've done 3 months at a time, either 2 or 3 different times while I've been carnivore. All the other time, like right now, I'm eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. But when I go lion, I can take even less insulin, even though I'm eating the same amount of calories, and it's amazing. Um, so I was thinking about going back on the lion diet in September, but now I'm wondering if I should try raw.
Okay, Amy, that's no problem. What I can do, because we're all on the same WhatsApp group here, and I don't think there's anybody else who's going to get offended by this. I will go back and find the Primal Lifestyle, Jacob McAteer, the Raw Carnivore, and I will post it immediately after this on our WhatsApp group. That was the one which inspired me to actually have a go at it. So, and he is a fine specimen of a man, believe me, he really is.
Oh, I can't
So
wait.
yeah, so that he will give you the guidance that you need and the decision to make, to say whether you can go raw or not. Right. Okay. One thing I will say about raw is that the texture of the raw lamb. I tend to eat mostly raw lamb. Well, I do eat raw beefsteak as well. The texture is superb. The fat and the muscle meat is very, very tender and very easy to deal with. You will need a good steak knife though, because of the connective tissue. That is sometimes stubborn to get through, but because it's there's not much of it, you can usually just chew it up and swallow it, no problems at all with the fat and the muscle meat. However, the flavor is lacking. It really tastes of nothing raw meat, to be perfectly honest with you. So what I do is I add a lot of pink Himalayan salt, but I also do add some spices as well. I don't know if you saw us on Sunday school yesterday, but I was talking with Thomas about it, and we've got the Frank's Red Hot sauce, which is fairly clean because I read the ingredients out on Sunday school, and there's also the French's USA style mustard. I think we get it over here, and again, you check the back of that, and the ingredients are relatively clean. So in order to give my raw steak flavor, I do add I mean, I can eat it with just the salt, to be honest with you. But as a luxury, then I would add a bit of Frank's Red Hot, or I will maybe a bit of Tabasco, or I particularly like the French's USA style mustard. So that's just one little tip that I can give you to make it slightly more interesting rather than just eating it plain. So yeah,
Well,
but I'll post that video.
yeah, that would be great. But lamb over here is much more expensive. It's
That's one thing I
more
do.
expensive than beef. So
Yeah,
basically, I eat like ground beef and eggs, and I will buy cheaper cuts of beef like brisket or chuck roast if they're on sale. And a lot of times I'm just eating eggs and ground beef. So I'm not sure how I like that.
no,
I'm afraid of raw, but I know that I'll be able to take less insulin if I eat raw. So it's an experiment that I've been wanting to do. I'm just a little nervous about it because I love the taste of cooked meat.
right.
And
What I can tell you is I did try eating a raw ground beef. Didn't really get on with it. No flavor at all. Didn't like the texture. However, I know that Lee, Kent's Carnivore, who you've probably heard of,
Yep.
the guy, yeah, he does eat raw ground beef. Now, I tend to eat only raw steak, to be honest with you, and the cheaper version of the lamb or the sirloin or the ribeye is the rump. Now, in Aldi in this country, the rump is £3.99, which is about $5 for an 8-ounce steak, I think. And that tends to vary, but I actually go through, I pick through what's on offer, and I find the ones with the thickest layer of fat around the outside. Now, if you can't afford to eat, like I do, 3 steaks a day, then maybe chuck in a couple of steaks, raw steaks, every now and again during the week. 2 or 3 instead of, I'd probably eat 15, to be perfectly honest with you. But if you can't afford that, then, go and get some fairly cheap steaks, maybe 2 or 3 a week. Just see how you get on with them, really. And you might find they fill you up so much that you don't have to spend money on the other stuff. So you can actually have more.
An experiment, that's for sure.
So it's, and the other thing I will say is that I tend to buy the stuff which is pre-packaged so that it is not open to the air. Because obviously, if you buy from the butcher's shop, it's probably a better quality meat. But on the other hand, it will have been sat on the butcher's slab for a while, and it will be more open to pathogens. So I always make sure that I buy it shrink wrapped, if you like, from the abattoir. And the minute that I open it, I eat it within 5 minutes so that I can't get any airborne pathogens on it. So another little tip for what my friend Carl does is he buys it from the butcher's, and he freezes it to kill any pathogens on it. But I'm too lazy to do that, so I take the easy route. But he does actually freeze it, and then we'll take it out, put it in the fridge. When it's thawed out, he will eat it straight out of the fridge. Another little life hack for you. So yeah, that's raw.
Nancy said she loves our stories, that they're so educational. She is 71, and her goal is to increase walking. She walks 2.5 miles starting at sunrise. And I need to add more walking more often if I can get past the heat. So I live in South Carolina, and if you guys don't know, it gets very hot here. And it's not dry hot, it's humid hot. So it feels hotter than it is most of the time. And I struggle with walking too, because you go outside and I'm like, oh, it feels great out here. Because I'm a very cold-natured person, so the warm feels great. And then I get to walking, and I'm like half a mile in, and I'm dying out there. I'm like, it's so hot. So yeah, I can understand, but like the best thing to do is just start walking and like sit on your phone or like do something entertaining at the same time to get your mind off the fact that you're like trudging through the mud or whatever.
Yeah. I like walking. It's just this time, but now I've, as you probably know, I've changed my life now because I've given up the day job, and I intend to start getting out and walking more. But I also intend to do a bit of grounding at the same time, because I haven't really had a chance to ground because I've been working in boots, and as in big hobnail boots, and I do have some good parks near me with grass. So yeah, when I get the time, when I come back from America, because I'm coming to America this week, Wyoming. And I will start walking on a daily basis, and I'll make sure that when I get to the parks, I'll take the shoes off and walk barefoot, because I do believe that grounding is probably beneficial for us as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on the grounding part. I need to get my steps in too. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to deal with at the moment. So I think we've got like 2 more minutes till YouTube is going to kick us off.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any finishing statements for today?
Yeah, absolutely, Elliot. Get out and ride more, because as you know, I work in the stables, and some of the fittest people I know are the ones who ride horses every day. I know you like riding, so that's another very good exercise as well.
Yep, I'm going out for a little ride later today. Listening and walking now. Good job, Bill. Hold on.
Right. Walking is how I get to listen to so many podcasts, and they're obviously carnivore podcasts. And just keep, if you want to try carnivore for 30 days. Your health will improve so much you won't want to go back. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, and my finishing words would be basically the same thing they said. Pay attention to what's going on around you most of all. You notice sick people, what are they eating? What are they drinking? How are they walking? How are they exercising? And you'll see a lot of bodybuilders who look really fit, but then you ask them, how do you feel today? Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you eating to satisfaction? And commonly their answers will be, no, I'm hungry all the time. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. I have to force myself to work out. Is that the life you want to live? Do you want to live like that? You can achieve the body, but do you want to live that way? And most people are going to be like, no, who wants to live their life like that? And that's why a lot of us have chosen carnivore. Not because it's some crazy fad diet, because it really makes us so much happier and so much healthier. And I think that's all that I really have time to say. I can't say a whole lot more. So I wish you guys a awesome day. I hope you have the best day ever, and bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I got 2 seconds left.
No, it does overrun, Ali. You have to hit the button.